Tangent Boy Live.
Hello and welcome to Season 2, Episode 2 of Tangent Boy Live, a place where I'll share one song, one snack, and one great story. Today I'm going to feature friend, fellow singer-songwriter, and producer Chris Commisso from Arizona. He's going to talk about his song, A Thief, a Shark, a Cheat, a Cad. What a great title. Then I'm going to show you a great recipe for banana walnut muffins. And then I'll finish it off with a great story of how I met Bruno Mars. Thanks so much for tuning in. Please subscribe, follow, and share. Let's get this thing going. Rock on.
You're a thief, a shark, a cheat, and a cad. Gum on the floor of a taxi cab. You're a thief, a shark, a cheat, and a cad. Up to no good and nothing but bad. You doubt me up to work for you.
It's so cool to have Chris Commisso on the show today. He had a band called The Lost Boys back in 1988 in Kingman, Arizona, and I got invited to play guitar with them. With them, we played school dances, school yearbook signings, parties, a club called Chadwick's, even a quinceañera. There's a Mexican lady out there somewhere who has pictures of us playing on stage at her quinceañera. How cool is that? In this band, we played songs by Prince, George Michael, U2, Bobby Brown, all the 80s cats, and it was so fun to be a part of. One thing about Chris I remember was his attention to detail. He knew exactly what the keyboard parts, the bass parts, the guitar parts, and the drums were supposed to be doing on every song. In fact, I remember his brother Dave and him getting in several arguments during our rehearsals. Today, Chris is going to talk about his song, A Thief, a Shark, a Cheat, and a Cad. Great title, great funky groove. I'm going to let him tell you about it.
Nick, how you doing, man? Great to be here. Thanks for having me on your show. Great to connect again. I hope you're doing awesome, my buddy. And I'm going to go write down your list of questions that you asked me to answer, and away we go. So my name is Chris Commisso. I'm a singer, songwriter, and music producer, currently based out of Arizona, and I've been doing this since I was a little kid. My parents had me on stage singing when I was 6 or 7 years old. Of course, I was terrible, but hopefully I've gotten better. I started songwriting when I was maybe 10 or 11 in junior high, and that's been the hardest part of the journey, is writing songs. Singing and playing came a little easier for me, but songwriting has always been something I've had to work at. So the song I'm going to sing for you guys today is one I wrote called A Thief, a Shark, a Cheat, and a Cad. And what inspired the lyric was a couple things. I do write from personal experience, so we all know somebody who's a jerk or an a-hole. But I also like to write my songs as little mini movies, and so I wanted to write as if this were about a character in a movie, a bad guy, somebody we all love to hate. So I guess you could say this is kind of like my villain song. I would say the most interesting thing about recording this song was that when I wrote it, I had the lyric, I had no music. I didn't know what kind of music I was going to put to this. And at the time, I'm mostly a synth player. I know I've got a guitar today, but I'm mostly keyboards. And I was listening to a lot of Harold Faltermeyer just a couple years ago, and I love all his soundtracks like Beverly Hills Cop and all those real synthy. And he does a lot of really cool synth bass, and I love the synth bass in almost all of his stuff. And I was kind of vibing off that one day and vibing off some of his synth bass lines, and I came up with a similar bass line, and that sort of inspired the vibe of the song, and it went really well with the lyric. I didn't want the lyric to be too heavy. I wanted it to be sort of playful, but still get the point across. And so, you're a thief, a shark, a cheat, and a cad. Gum on the floor of a taxi cab. You're a thief, a shark, a cheat, and a cad. Up to no good and nothing but bad. You dialed me up to work for you. I sweat and bled, you know I broke my back for you. You got surprised, next thing I knew, you ghosted me, you flipped me off, you grabbed the cash and blew the coop. You swindle your own daughter, oh, if you thought it'd get you just a bit further, yeah. Step on a crack, break your mama's back on purpose, you couldn't care less. Next time I'll be smarter. You're a thief, a shark, a cheat, and a cad. Gum on the floor of a taxi cab. You're a thief, a shark, a cheat, and a cad. Up to no good and nothing but bad. Oh, you're a thief, a shark, a cheat, and a cad. A filthy, dirty, slimy, moldy, grubby, greasy laundry bag. A thief, a shark, a cheat, and a cad. You You spun your web and we all been had. Ooh, how can you sleep at night? How can you sleep at night? How can you sleep at night? How can you sleep at night?
All right, let's make these banana walnut muffins. And yes, you'll need a physics degree for this. The ingredients include 1 cup almond flour, 1 cup gluten-free oat flour, 2 tablespoons of ground flaxseed, a half a teaspoon of ground cinnamon, 2 teaspoons of baking powder, a half a teaspoon of baking soda, a half a teaspoon of sea salt, a half a cup of pure maple syrup at room temperature, a half a cup of organic virgin coconut oil, 2 eggs at room temperature, 1 teaspoon of pure vanilla extract, 2 bananas, and a half a cup of walnuts. Whew, my goodness. Preheat the oven at 350 degrees. Add a 1/4 cup of coconut oil and heat it up 15 seconds. Add a half a cup of maple syrup. Use a measuring cup to verify the amount. Slice up your 2 bananas and crush them up. Now you're going to grind up your flaxseed. Start your dry mixture with 1 cup of almond flour and 1 cup of gluten-free oat flour. Add your flaxseed and your cinnamon, 2 teaspoons of baking powder, 1/2 teaspoon of baking soda, a half a teaspoon of sea salt, and mix it up really well. Add 1 teaspoon of your vanilla extract to your maple syrup and coconut oil. Now add that to your dry mixture. Now whip your eggs, add it to the bananas, and mix it well. Now add this to your dry mixture, throw in your walnuts, and mix it very well. Be sure and spray your baking pan with Pam so it doesn't stick. Add your mixture and put it in the oven for 25 minutes. Once they're done baking, take them out of the pan and let them cool off.
Oh, yeah. Banana.
All right, it's story time. This story takes place back in 2010 when I worked for the Las Vegas Metropolitan Police Department. I was working as a sergeant in the booking area when a good friend, fellow officer, came up to me and said, "Hey, we got a musician in the side cell over in releasing." I said, who? And he's like, "Bruno Mars." And I'm like, "I do not know a Bruno Mars. I don't know who that is." Kind of funny, he started singing one of his songs to me right there in the middle of booking in front of a bunch of inmates. "I think you're amazing, just how good you are." I'm like, I have no idea who that is and why you're singing to me in the middle of the booking area. Anyway, we walk down to the releasing area and we see this little guy. He's so small. He's sitting on the bench in a side cell by himself and his feet are dangling. He looked like a little kid. And I'm like, "You sure this is a musician?" He's like, "Yes, he's famous." I go in, I actually have him sign his paperwork for his releasing, which I guess you could say I got his autograph. He was nice, he was obviously very scared. I'm not gonna go into the details as to why he was arrested, but I got to meet Bruno Mars. That's my story, and I'm stuck to it.
Tangent Boy Live.